Okay, in this video, I'd like to talk about how MH370 disappearing was part of DARPA's Project Pegasus teleportation project called Project Pegasus. And this is all confirmed by Andrew Basiago. And what I'm going to be talking about is from an interview that he gives in 2015. And this is all thanks to Nikola Tesla. And he brings that up numerous times that none of this would be possible without Tesla. So what's happening is when those orbs are spinning around MH370, they're creating a situation of where the radiant energy is in that localized area, and when the plane goes through it, that's when it teleports. So let's get into this. Okay, DARPA used to be ARPA, and their stated goal of teleportation was to be used by the military to prevent enemy surprise. So Basiago lays it all out. Okay, he says that this had started as early as 1899 when Tesla went out to Colorado Springs and was doing his experiments there. So Basiago says that Nikola Tesla found an energy that was laden and pervasive throughout the entire physical universe. He called it radiant energy. He kept it secret and was working on it since 1899 in Colorado Springs. His father, Raymond F. Basiago, redid Tesla's experiments and was a special projects engineer at Thomas A. Edison Research Lab in West Orange, New Jersey, from 1956 to 1964. He says that when you array radiant energy and someone jumps through it, their inertia opens up a portal tunnel in space-time. And there's no transformation of the individual, and it does not have to be entered at light speed. A human had to jump through at 1 meter per second, or else body parts would be lost in the jump. And this actually happened to a kid, and he slid right off his ankles because his feet got buried in a fountain. So what's going on is DARPA had developed Nikola Tesla's system of teleportation from all the stuff that they seized after his death. So Basiago goes into this whole thing, and this is coming from the video that's called Andrew Basiago, Time Travel and Project Pegasus, and it's from 2015. So he confirms all this stuff that you're just seeing now with all the UFOs or the Tic Tacs. It's the same thing. So it's all Navy. So he says that major developments in applied science happened at this time after Tesla's death. So applied science is where I come into the whole thing. I've got an associate's degree in applied science, in concrete technology. And this is where I learned the scientific method and how to go about it. So I apply all this stuff into what I'm doing now. And it all kind of ties in miraculously. So Tesla died on January 7th, 1943. 2 War Department officers and 2 FBI agents went over to his hotel, and the War Department seized Tesla's papers, which forwarded it to the National Archives. And then that got sent to Los Alamos and other labs to work on. So this was a twin to the Manhattan Project. So they took all those scientists and went into time travel, teleportation. So, like I said, at first they were having this thing called a chronovisor, which was said to be developed in conjunction with these priests from the Vatican. And it's just a TV that you can tune it into different future or present situations and watch it. So they were doing that, but it was really unreliable. So this is what Basiago also points out, that in this whole thing, 59% of the budget is defense spending as of 2015. So it's really funding the military-industrial complex. 59% of the budget. So, and he also points this out, that there's different ways of jumping. A vortal tunnel is not the same as a wormhole. A vortal tunnel is something that is used by Tesla teleportation, but a wormhole is generated through plasma confinement. That's how they were doing. They would, as far as the plasma confinement, they would actually generate holograms on a stage, and then you would become part of the hologram in the past or the future. With the Tesla teleporter, it's more of a deal where you have to have a situation where you have a sending station and then a receiving station. And a lot of people think that's what Tesla was doing when he had his two apartment buildings in the New Yorker and the Waldorf Astoria. They think he was jumping stuff, testing all this stuff out secretly before his death. Okay, so what Basiago says happens is, this is his quote, in a field of scintillation for 90 seconds, and then what happens is, from a black form, you would reappear basically limb by limb. It's called the black body emanation, is how you would start coming back into material 3D. So this guy named Sterling Colgate is the one that created plasma confinement. He's made the plasma confinement chamber. And what happens is all the radioactive plasma, what it did was create a wormhole, and then you fade back into the chamber to return. So the effect would just kind of wear off, and he said that's what happened when he jumped back to Gettysburg to watch Lincoln give the Gettysburg Address. When he's fading out, he is creating, the effect is wearing off, and he's jumping back to his time in the present. So it's all about the tetrahedron and rotation, because he says that once it starts, you would see a pinprick of light, almost circular, but then it would start looking triangular. Now, like I said in my previous videos, the triangle, or what's called the tetrahedron, when this thing starts spinning right, or 1.6180, the Fibonacci, the golden ratio, when it starts going to the right clockwise, it's producing matter. So the higher you go up, the higher the space, the smaller the space, the higher the capacitance. And it also works in reverse. So if you were to go left, it would dematerialize and work the other way back down the scale, counterclockwise towards counter space. Because you're dealing with something like this. In magnetism and in space and everything that you see, you're working in time, or chronos. This is the 1.618, the golden ratio. On the other end of the spectrum, you would have the holos, which is 0.618. So that's your counterclockwise spin. This would be your clockwise spin where you would have time, space, magnetism, matter, frequency. When you spin left, you have no time, no space. That's why all these so-called physical laws don't start applying when you get to this other stuff, and this is what the physicists can't understand today. You only got two dimensions to work with. You got space, counter space. In space, you have magnetism. In counter space, you have pure dielectricity with a plane of inertia in between. Everything's triplicate. 3, 6, 9, just like Tesla says. So what Basiago says is the Time Project was a secret twin to the Manhattan Project. So he entered as a third grader in 1969. He says that Tesla's papers were never lost. They were seized by the War Department upon his death, January 7, 1943. They were forwarded to the National Archives and then to Los Alamos, and they're still there. He says by 1968, they had the ability to open a portal tunnel. By 1970, they could adjust forward or backward in time. This is Tesla radiant energy. When you array radiant energy and somebody jumps through it, like I said, their inertia opens up a portal tunnel space-time. There's no transformation of the individual. So you got to jump through it. Okay, so we've been through that. Terahertz frequency radiation is 1 meter wavelength. Just to point that out, throw that out there to everybody. Matches up perfectly. And that's what they're just finally getting into with science today, is the terahertz. So that's what Bashar was talking about. It's too high to be measured by digital equipment today. Terahertz is between infrared and microwave, between electric waves and optic waves. Terahertz light can be found in DNA. This radiant energy has special properties and can open a portal tunnel in space-time. When we see a pinprick of light at the end of the tunnel, it would have no device on the other end of the microtubule. So this would be the plasma confinement. It wouldn't have a Tesla teleporter at the end. So Tesla was using right there, like I said, right here. First you'd see a pinprick of light at the end of the tunnel, and then it would just kind of come to you, he said. And then it would just like visually hit them, and then that's through plasma confinement. He said wormholing uses different branches, and it takes like turns and dips. He said it's like going down like a roller coaster. Because that's exactly what you would be doing. You would be basically going through the dielectric. So, okay, Tesla was secretly working on all this teleportation stuff since 1899 in Colorado Springs. So with one of his teleporters, the way it would work, Basiago said you'd have like two poles, and you would just walk through this thing. So he said he'd plug right into the wall. He said it wasn't anything special. It didn't require anything besides a normal household outlet. So it says the device had a standard plug, like for something like a drill press or a lathe, but the power output was outrageous. There was a okay, so when he jumped into the future, when he had to jump back, they had some really special high-tech one where the projector was built into the wall, where it was recessed and you would run at it. That's why I got like Pink Floyd on the wall. So this terahertz radiant energy has specialized properties. Okay, so when Tesla's talking about negative electricity, Walter Russell goes into this too, and he says that Electricity converts space into energy, and negative electricity converts energy into space. So it's like I'm talking about with what a magnet is and with what AC generator is. An AC generator is not something that generates electricity, it manifests power. So it's the complete opposite of what a magnet is. Okay, what a magnet is all the magnetism is on the outside periphery of this ring magnet here. But on the inside, on the dead center of this thing, there's no magnetism, no gravity, it's 0G, it's 0 Gauss, because it's complete dielectricity. So with what you're dealing with an AC generator is it's the complete opposite, it's flipped. On an AC generator, all the dielectricity will be on the outside and all the magnetism will be on the inside. So you're inverting and flipping it. Because that's your goal, is to shield out the magnetism. So the device had a standard plug. Okay, so what they were doing is like a plasma confinement has no return teleporter. So you just fade back into the chamber or the stage or wherever they're propagating this hologram from. But this other stuff is different with the Tesla teleporter. So when they would jump back, to a microwave tower in Colorado that was the receiving spot. It's called Microwave Tower Road, and get this, it's called Montauk Southwest. And from there, they were pinging into space to locate the position from 2045. Okay, he said scintillation it's called scintillation when you jump into this field of radiant energy. It's a point before popping into view after 100 seconds or so. And he says that this Josephine Cobb image from Gettysburg, when it was taken, you can see the effects of the plasma confinement in Andrew Basiago's mouth, because you can see his teeth, because it's going into X-ray mode when this Brady guy's taking the photograph of Lincoln at Gettysburg. This is all transpiring, and then this photo ended up in either Life or Time magazine or something in the 70s, and it's the first to show a time traveler, and it's the only, or it's not the only, it's a picture that's classified by the National Archives. Oh, I guess, okay, it's the only public photo that's classified. So, like I said, okay, his father, Raymond Basiago, he worked at Thomas A. Edison Labs, Morris Plains, New Jersey. And in the future, they finally got the tech good enough to where it's called a jump room, and they just had this jump room in the Howard Hughes Aircraft Building, and it's on 999 North Cipolla Boulevard, El Segundo, California. And there's an elevator there that you'd go to the 5th floor, you check in, you go to the 8th floor, and then you would start moving horizontally for 30 seconds. Okay, the rectangle would become a cylinder, and then after 10 minutes, it would be a box again. And in 5 minutes, you could be on Mars. So that's what they were doing with the Mars jump room deal in the early 80s. Like Ken Wheeler says here, he says that dielectricity is voltage, it's potential, where magnetism is amperage, it's kinetic. Okay, frequency everywhere, okay, electrostatic, okay, atmospheric electricity every meter up, so it increases the voltage hundreds of volts. As the higher that you go, it just keeps cranking up in the atmosphere. On here is where Basiago is talking about a mishap that the kid has, because this is where the whole deal with the heaviside telegraph equation comes into play. Because with the heaviside telegraph equation, the problem that they had with the undersea cable from the United States to Europe was that the signals weren't coming out clear because of the dielectricity and magnetism arriving at two different times. So this proves this whole thing too. Basiago says that they had a mishap where the kid arrived in New Mexico standing in a public fountain in 3 meters of water when they jumped. He lost his feet because the specific gravity of the water was greater than the air around him. And what was below the surface of the water arrived a split second before the rest of him, and he slid off his ankles. Well, this is just like what happened in the Philadelphia experiment with the guy reappearing half in the bulkhead or in the steel of the ship. There's a deal where the magnetism and the dielectricity are arriving at different ends, and it causes problems. So Basiago says in his whole deal with the Tesla teleportation is, well, the public was not told because it's been a state secret since teleportation was reduced to practice around 1967-68, about 25 years after Tesla's death, is that the energy exists and has properties that enable us to open up a portal tunnel in the fabric of space-time. We tend to think of space as a void. However, as the physicist Mark Cummings has noted, a cubic meter of space is so dense that it has as many ergs of energy in it as all the grains of sand on every beach on the earth. So space is densely packed, and that's why all the planets stay in a rotation around the sun. That's what he says. So this whole thing is all coming from DARPA, Project Pegasus. And this is just further proof why there was 2 United States spy satellites and a drone watching MH370, because they know what they're doing. And like I said, I've watched them jump jet after jet after jet over Lake Huron about a year before the MH370 disappeared. So I know that this is possible, and I know it's a fact. So thanks for watching these videos. I'm not an expert. This degree means about nothing to me, but it gave me the basis to put everything that I figured out and every clue into these notebooks here. So that degree has transformed from that to this, because I knew I was going to need all these bits and pieces to the puzzle. Because I'm a big researcher in Coral Castle, that's how I started off this whole thing. And whenever anybody asked Ed Leeds Scallon how did he figure all this stuff out, he couldn't tell them, or he couldn't just give them one book or one anything. He would just not really say anything and just kind of smile. So this is my proof right here, and I'm putting it on YouTube, so get ready for more. Thanks for watching.